Do big things with small portions if the people are obedient to their calling and committed to their purpose. We read in Mark 6, verse 41 through 44, that Jesus took the 5 loaves and 2 fish. He looked up toward heaven and blessed them, then breaking the loaves into pieces, he kept giving the bread to the disciples so they could distribute it to the people. He also divided the fish for everyone to share. They all ate as much as they wanted. Verse 43 says, and afterwards the disciples picked up 12 baskets of leftover bread and fish. And a total of 5,000 men and their families were fed in that setting. He can do a whole lot with the very little bit that we have to offer him. That doesn't mean we go on the stingy side, just give him as little as we possibly can. That young lad that gave him his entire meal didn't say, well, I'll give Jesus 10% of what I got, I'll give the other 90%. In that moment, he gave 100% of all he had for that purpose. The disciples and Jesus had nothing to eat. Jesus told the disciples to see what they could find. Everyone had a lot of nothing, but a small lad had a little bit of something. He gives it over to the disciples. The lad may be thinking to himself, this is all I have, and the disciples take it to Jesus and say, here's what we came up with. Now Jesus has it all. Even though it is just a little bit, and now everyone has it all. The lad gave up his whole meal just to be in the same boat as the multitude. Think of what I just said there, the same boat. We'll get there in a second. What Jesus does with the little bit or the all that is offered, which is sacrificial giving, it is beneficial to the one who gives. It is beneficial to the community at large. And so the question that I asked last week, I asked again in our introduction. Are we a people who sacrificially gives, or do we operate out of the ministry of withholding? And I'm not talking just financially, I'm talking about other areas where we can step in and fill the gap and be involved and help get things accomplished. Do we withhold and say, it's just one event on the calendar? Do we give according to the percentage, 10%? Or do we operate out of the New Testament principle to give extravagantly according to the needs that arise? Jesus did not settle for the excuse of, we cannot afford an 8-month salary to feed these people, Jesus. You don't understand. You called us away from our job. We don't have what the people need. We can't afford it. He didn't take that as an excuse. That wasn't what he was looking for. We wouldn't be doing what we are doing right now, right here, if people did not give extravagantly 25 years ago. 25 years ago, there was concern of, can we afford to do this? I remember hearing the story about how the parsonage was built across the street. Some people said, well, I don't know. Aldine said, no, I'm quite convinced we can do this. We can do this. And guess what? It was done. So they built a church and a parsonage simultaneously. In the history of churches being built, when you look back and see how it's done, it's typically not done that way before. Typically, you get the church put in place, and then you wait a few more years, and then the pastor gets put in his place. Hardly ever is it done simultaneously. But why would God allow Orchard Drive to do the north? He's calling us to go outside that box over and over again. So we need to get back to giving as being driven by compassion. We need to get back to the place of being excited about the lifestyle we have in Jesus. We need a change of mentality, a change of behavior, a change in our momentum. if we make these small changes, we will begin to see other changes begin to trickle out into the community. As we continue in our study, we will see that Jesus wants to reveal even more to the disciples. And as we study the text, be aware that Jesus wants to reveal things to you and I here this morning as well. Otherwise, I have to ask, why are you here? I didn't expect to have something to be revealed. Well, I've been to church all my life. I've heard it all. Well, maybe you have. And maybe you haven't. But if we're here, have the expectation that perhaps God's about to reveal something to us. Maybe. Maybe. So, Father, we ask that you would continue to speak to our hearts, that you would stir us to be motivated through the momentum of compassion. That we would see others as you see them. That we would feel for them as you feel for them. And that you help us to see more of the big picture as you reveal insights to us here this morning. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Part 1, Mark 6, verse 45 through 52. Here is the narrative. My favorite word. Immediately, he made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, to Bethsaida, while he sent the multitude away. And when he sent them away, he departed to the mountain to pray. Now when evening came, the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone on the land. Then he saw them straining at rowing, for the wind was against them. Now about the fourth watch of the night, he came to them, walking on the sea, and would have passed them by. And when they saw him walking on the sea, they supposed it was a ghost, and cried out. For they all saw him and were troubled. Here's that word. But immediately he talked with them and said to them, two important phrases. Number one, be of good cheer. It is I. I'll emphasize it is I in a moment. And then he says, do not be afraid. Then he went up into the boat to them, and the wind ceased, and they were greatly amazed in themselves beyond measure and marveled. Now look at verse 52. This is interesting. For they had not understood about the loaves, because their heart was what? Hardened. They just saw God take a young boy's lunch and make it big enough to feed a mass of 5,000 men and their families, and they didn't comprehend, and they sat in a boat and didn't even take time to think about what just took place. They didn't even think about what they just saw God do. They sat there and contemplated not a bit of it, and their hearts were hardened. They sat in a boat, just watched Jesus do that big thing, and they didn't care about it. What big thing has Jesus done in your life that you've lost sight of him? Suddenly, not thought of anymore. What things has happened in the history of Orchard Drive Baptist Church where big things happen? We celebrated for a minute, but then the waters got a little troubled and we forgot all about it. Ever happened here? Is it happening now? Remember, prior to the 5,000 men being fed, Jesus told the disciples to go to a deserted place and rest. And the multitude said, "Oh no! No, no! We want more! We want more! Give us more!" Anybody ever say that to God? Give me more! Never mind what I haven't given you, just give me more. Okay? So let's look and see about this deserted place. Mark 6, verse 30 and 32. Then the disciples gathered to Jesus and told him all things, both what they had done and what they had taught. And he said to them, "Come aside by yourselves to to a deserted place and rest a while. For there were many coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat. So they departed to a deserted place in the boat by themselves. So he sent them ahead, go back to your deserted place. I'm going to go to mine, which is on a mountain. I'm going to go pray. Oh, and by the way, I can see you from where I'm praying, he says. So Jesus sticks to his plan before being interrupted by the crowd and being moved by compassion for them. Then he continues to find a deserted place, a mountain to pray. This is the second time in the Gospel of Mark we see him doing this. If you look at Mark 1:35, you'll see him doing it the first time. The deserted place for the disciples was in the middle of the sea. Nobody could get to them there. They're just in the middle of the sea. Verse 47 says that Jesus was on land and the disciples were in the middle of the sea and they were rowing and straining against the wind. Why do we row and strain against the wind in the church? Because that's the way it's always been done before. We're going to strain, we're going to strive, we're going to try to make this thing work. The chances are it hasn't been working for the last X amount of time, but doggone it, come hell or high water, we're going to keep doing this because this is all we know to do, is strain against the sea. He said, why are you doing that? He's watching them do this. It's not computing. Why? It's supposed to be going with the flow. Whose flow do we go with? The Holy Spirit. Go with the flow. Why? Remember the question that we started in the book of Acts. Jesus asked, Saul, why do you persecute me? Why are you kicking against me? We have words right there. Go and make disciples of all nations. Go into the community and have an impact. And we are resistant to doing it. We do some things, but we need to do all that he's called us to do, step into, to have maximum impact. We are rowing against the flow. The fourth watch is between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. This is pretty early in the morning. Anybody ever get up between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m.? That's a prime time for me to be awake, unfortunately. All right. Roman method of dividing the night into 4 watches was from dusk to dawn. So this was the fourth of those watches. Jesus sees the disciples struggling. He approaches them by walking on the sea. As sure as we see the text state that he was on the land. So in verse 47, we now see him on the sea. In verse 48, as the disciples are struggling in the middle of the sea, don't think for 1 minute that Jesus is off in the distance somewhere unaware of our struggle. He's very aware of our struggle. Our struggle as in the context of our, or me, my, I, this life. He's aware. Struggle as in my family, aware. Struggle as in our church, he's aware. Struggle as in our vocation, he's aware. If the struggle is there, he's aware. I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but word. You write that in your notes. If the struggle is there, he's aware. Take that one. So as sure as he is on the land, now he's on the sea. Same word. Same picture. We are at times oblivious of his hand at work. But if we pay attention, we will see him for who he truly is. The disciples in verse 49 perceive him to be a ghost. Ghost in the Greek here is phantasma. I think phantasm. That's phantasma. All right, phantasma, not dead man walking. Like phantom, kind of like an illusion, rather than the spirit of a dead person. Jesus says 2 things to the disciples in the form of a command. He says, be of good cheer. He says, do not be afraid. When Jesus says this 3-word phrase, constitutes 5 letters, it is I, he's saying there. He's not saying, yo man, it's me, Jesus, chill out. He's saying, it is I. The Old Testament, we understand to be the phrase, I am the I am, I am the I am. That is God saying, it is I. This is Jesus using the phrase, it is I, to reference again his deity. I am fully man, but I am fully God. I am here. I am aware. I am with you. Now let's look at this. The same way we see the phrase, it is I, is the I am depicted in the text of Isaiah 43, verse 8 through 13. Let's look at Isaiah 43, verse 8 through 13. It should be on the board. Bring out the blind people who have eyes, and the deaf who have ears. Let all the nations be gathered together, and let the people be assembled. Who among them can declare this, and show us forward things? Let them bring out their witnesses, and that they may be justified, or let them hear and say, it is true. Verse 10. You are my witnesses, says the Lord, and my servant whom I have chosen, that you may know and believe me, and understand that I am he. Before me there was no God formed, nor shall there be after me. Verse 11. I, even I, am the Lord, and besides me there is no Savior. I have declared and saved, I have proclaimed, and there was no foreign God among you. Therefore you are my witnesses, says the Lord, that I am God. Verse 13. Indeed, before the day was, I am he, and there is no one who can deliver out of my hand. I work, and who will reverse it? So when Jesus says, it is I, it is that same power, that same authority. Bring me the ones who have eyes but cannot see. Show me the one who has ears but cannot hear. Let me show you what I can do in that situation, and then you show me the one who thinks they can reverse it. So when we sit there, we make a declaration in our times of prayer, we say, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. What it means is, God set up shop, and nobody's coming in to change it. But the mentality that we have sometimes is we walk around like we're in the process of losing a battle. We're not losing. We've already gained victory. But we sit there and say, woe is me, well, we're just stuck in a boat. Well, I just know to do this. Drop the rope, bend the knees, and cry out to God and say, help! And he says, finally, a blind person who has eyes, watch what I can do. Oh, there's the deaf person, but they have ears. Let them hear what I'm speaking to them, and something will break loose. Something will break loose. So, well, I don't believe it. They go somewhere else and they don't believe with you. We're here for a reason. Why would you come through the doors and say, I don't believe that God can? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make sense. We have to get back to the place to say, I am, and he's saying it is I, and he planted Orchard Drive Baptist Church, and for what? It's about him. It has nothing to do with us whatsoever, except that we came as a community of faith, and he says, just my kids hanging out. When their ears get unstopped, they'll hear the whisper of the Father, and things will get unleashed. Whew. I work, and who will reverse it? Mark 4, verse 35 to 41. When Jesus commanded the wind to stop, it stopped. But here, when Jesus climbed into the boat with the disciples, the wind ceased. Some of our struggle, some of our wrestle, some of the conflict, some of the stress, some of the confusion comes because have we truly welcomed Jesus into the middle of our boat? We're in the middle of nowhere, we're working against the flow, but what happens if Jesus comes into the boat? Suddenly, well, it doesn't make sense on paper, we don't know how the money got there, but suddenly